Your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
Well, good morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, everybody watching online on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 1230 AM on this Rapture Tuesday, apparently. And guess what? We're all sinners because we're all still here. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. Sparky, good morning.
Good morning.
Let them know what they're in for.
I have no idea what that rapture crap means, but
mean
I will talk. We'll recap Monday Night Football. We'll have 24KG talking wrestling and much, much more.
You haven't heard the internet craze right now. Apparently, some priest down in South Africa had a dream where Jesus came down to him and told him that today, the 23rd day of September, on the year of 2025, was the day that Jesus would return, and today would be the rapture. So be prepared, everybody. Apparently, there are some people taking this very, very seriously. And as somebody who grew up a Catholic, I'm going to tell you right now, yeah, let's slow up on all that, the dream stuff.
I thought he was already here.
I mean, that's Jesus is within all of us. He's always here, Sparky. He's the Holy Spirit.
I'm not scared.
I'm not scared.
I'm
not scared
My
at all.
Jesus is with me.
Exactly. I'm just saying, we're all sinners. We're all still here. We're all down here with Michael B. Jordan, hoping and praying we become vampires one day. But let's talk about the football game we got to see last night as the Detroit Lions pulled off an impressive win, 38-30 over the Baltimore Ravens. And main question I have to pose for today's show, and feel free to text in 661-842-2000. Has Dan Campbell done enough? Has Dan Campbell shown everybody that he is still the head coach to lead this Lions team to hopefully their first Super Bowl? And honestly, after watching the game last night, I was impressed. I was very, very impressed. They look like they found the gear again. They're back to where they need to be to win big games like this against tough opponents, and made huge plays late, forcing that fumble in the fourth quarter. Derrick Henry, again, struggling with this whole thing. He's now had 3 fumbles in 3 games, 2 of which have come in the fourth quarter in pivotal moments of these games. The Baltimore Ravens to come back and potentially take lead. Do you think that's something that just comes with age, though? Because at the same time, and again, not trying to say Derrick Henry is aging out of the NFL, but let's take Adrian Peterson, for example. Someone who ran, I would say, somewhat similarly to the way Derrick Henry does. Very powerful, someone who could easily shake off defenders and fights for extra yards, but that usually came with a fumble issue, especially late in Adrian's career. He had a little bit of a fumble issue. But, I mean, this isn't necessarily a coincidence. 3 straight games with a fumble in a career where we haven't seen this man fumble ever. So this isn't something that he's had over the entirety of his career. He's been very, very secure with the football in his time with Tennessee and his short time with the Baltimore Ravens so far. Or do we just credit Aiden Hutchinson with a beautiful, beautiful peanut punch to pop that ball out and go straight to the Bakersfield boy of DJ Reed, DJ Reed, in which was, in my opinion, the game-sealing play, giving the Lions the opportunity to score again, extend that lead to a point where basically the Ravens were just unable and didn't have enough time to come back and figure it out. What were your thoughts on the game, my friend?
I mean, the fumble thing, I've just known over the years when it comes in groups, it comes in groups. You have fumbleitis, I would say. And I mean, I wouldn't go with the age or even going back to other running backs. It's obviously in his head, and a lot of it is mental. And I saw the play. I mean, it looked like a hell of a defensive play, but even the Ravens don't look like the Baltimore Ravens the last 3 weeks. And I've seen it with a lot of teams, whether it was Kansas City or, even Philadelphia last week for this week's game. They didn't look like the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm hoping that it's not something that continues, but it's definitely in his head. When you saw him slamming his helmet down and talking to himself, he looked pissed. He looked like he was getting it's getting in his head. It's just a mental type thing. And hopefully, even though the fumble last week, that it seemed like it was more of the defensive play. And I think they're going to start, obviously they're punching the ball out. They're knowing, okay, well, this beast mode type guy is open to fumble, and I think it's going to be something that defenders will keep an eye on.
I mean, it was an incredibly frustrating night for him altogether. 12 rushes for 50 yards, and honestly, one of those rushes accounted for half of those yards. So obviously, he wasn't exactly getting the yards he was used to throughout the game. Frustrations mount, I realize, especially when you have to play from underneath the vast majority of this game, and Detroit's offense didn't make it easy for you. Jared Goff, once again, showing that he is probably the most trusted quarterback in the NFL, completing passes on 4th down. Well, I mean, granted, when it's 4th and 5 or something of that nature, you need your quarterback to make these plays. But Dan Campbell has shown that he will go to 4th down with Jared Goff more than any other coach will go with their quarterback. I will stand on that. And honestly, we have a little bit of audio here from Jared real quick on how he feels being so trusted to be able to throw on these key 4th downs.
Jared, getting back to that 4th down, I think at the end there, can you speak to what that means that John Dan said, hey, throw the ball down the field here, but put the game in the bounce?
Yeah, man. I mean, I know they trust me, and I trust St. Brown, and so put the game in our hands, and we'll make it work. We've done it before, and yeah, it's exciting.
I mean, it's easy to trust a sure-handed receiver like Amon-Ra St. Brown, who had 7 catches for 77 yards and was targeted 8 times. But
4th touchdown of the season.
It's at this point, they are just meshing on offense, even without Ben Johnson. That's great to see. David Montgomery had a fantastic game, obviously, with the game-sealing touchdown. That was about, 35 yards? And to see him gash the Baltimore Ravens defense as much as he did, because he had a 72-yarder at one point. I mean, it's uncharacteristic of the Baltimore Ravens, the team that we were talking about being probably on paper the most stacked team and the favorite team. But maybe, again, just like we were talking about with the Green Bay Packers, the flash was great in the first 2 weeks, but are we giving them a little bit too much credit? Are they really the team that's going to usurp, Buffalo, because they've already beat them once this year, and now most likely will face them again in the playoffs if you do get deep. Kansas City, although struggling right now, we don't know what they're going to look like at the end of the year. Andy Reid usually can find a way to figure it out and get the team working again. And to be honest with you, if they can pull off one big trade at a wide receiver, or for a wide receiver, they could be back offensively. All it takes is one momentum
trade
shift.
for an offensive lineman.
Yeah, really. Get rid of Juwan Johnson. But at this point, or no, not Juwan Johnson, Juwan Thomas. I can't remember what the lineman's name is, but god awful. Regardless, the Baltimore Ravens at this point, I think I have to agree with you, don't really look like the Baltimore Ravens we were expecting. Lamar looks like Lamar. That seemed to have been fine. Week 1, Derek looked great. But the rest of the time, I haven't necessarily seen the defensive studs that we saw last year. Raekwon Smith is still out there making plays and doing what he can, but it seems to me the secondary has kind of taken a step back. I was watching Marlon Humphrey yesterday try to guard St. Brown, and it seemed like he was just being ran around the field.
He's getting worked.
He really was. And he was holding. He was doing everything possible so St. Brown couldn't get a catch. But everything was so blatant that referees had to call it.
And teams are running all over them.
They really are.
Teams are running all over them. The secondary looks bad. And, I mean, looking at this week, the Ravens or the Chiefs will be 1-3 by the end of next week.
Which is wild to think about. And, I mean, at this point, do you think that they are going to be able to turn this around? I feel like they will, watching this team and knowing what Harbaugh is used to doing. But they've got to have some sort of vocal leader, I feel, on the defensive side, whether it's Kyle Hamilton, Raekwon Smith. It really doesn't matter who it is, but someone's got to rally these guys together and say, look, great, we get after the quarterback, but we got to be able to contain the run too. And if you over pursue like a lot of these young guys like to do, and that's the issue a lot of the time, is you see these defensive ends over pursue trying to go after the quarterback, and they realize, oh, God, he just handed it off to the running back. He's gone.
And now there's a hole. The rush defense, I don't know if it's Baltimore. It might be both. To tell you the truth, it might be Baltimore's defense. It might be the offensive line because, I mean, Lamar got sacked, 7 times last night?
It was rough going.
I'm still a little hurt because I was up 20 in my fantasy league, and I still had Baltimore's defense, and he had Montgomery.
Oh God.
I got negative points out of my defense, and I lost by 3 this morning. So I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Honestly, I'm surprised you only lost by 3.
I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Well,
wow.
To be fair, I went up against Zay Flowers and Lamar, and at halftime, I actually looked pretty good against your brother. And Lamar turned it on in the second half, and I said, "Well, I'm starting 1 and 2. Fantastic."
But what's funny is, like, if you played way too many fantasy leagues, I've got Montgomery in my other league and St. Brown in the other, so I fared well. But in my radio league, I'm looking like garbage. And it's funny just how fantasy is, because going into week 1, I'm looking at like Burrow. I've got these guys that have been like, oh, it's cash money this year. Pfft, we're 3-4 weeks in, and look at my team. It's just it just looks like garbage.
Well, again, it's 3 weeks in. There's always a chance to turn around. Luckily, you're only 1 game away from being 500.
But that's one thing we can look
1 and 2.
into. I mean, it's the world of the media, especially with sports media. I mean, we're only 3 weeks in, but we can see, teams. I was just driving in this morning, and there's like, oh, the Dolphin season's over. I'm like, they're 1 game behind Kansas City, but the next segment they can talk about Kansas City. Oh, they're just 1 guy away from, winning the division. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, it's just the media, and anything could happen on any given Sunday. We've been saying it, but I am definitely surprised I think it's more of Derrick Henry's fumbling and Baltimore's defense.
Huge. It really was. I mean, I was watching the game last night trying to find a way to make a joke about how Lamar Jackson looks like Jules from Pulp Fiction, and obviously he's getting beat up by Sonic the Hedgehog and Knuckles. But it seemed to be, I have to agree with you. I was like, no, we have to highlight the fact that just Aiden Hutchinson made an amazing play. And again, Derrick Henry, for lack of a better word, and I'm not blaming the whole loss on him, but he fumbled the game away. When that fumble came out and DJ Reed picked it up, I said, oh, that's it. Like, just the time on the clock, you knew Detroit was going to go down and score at least a field goal to go up, I think at that point by 10. And that was before Montgomery's huge run at the end of the game to actually ice it. But at that point, like, all the air got sucked out of the stadium. You saw Derrick Henry with his frustrations throwing his helmet down and falling onto the bench in the process.
He was shocked with himself.
And I mean, I think you're right. I think the biggest part of it is he's in his own head now. He's 100% in his own head.
And I've seen it with some of the best players in all sports.
Yeah.
Once you get inside your head, you got to sit down and, reevaluate everything.
You're Derrick Henry, okay? They're going to be fine. And there's nobody listening to my voice right now who's thinking, oh, Derrick Henry's done. And I'm not saying Derrick Henry's done either. But can we, like, old school run the football? I want to see 2 hands, you center of the chest, just bulling guys down from now on like you're a fullback. I don't need you with the ball out here anymore.
You don't need to be cute.
Tighten it up, run people over like you always do, and make it look effortless. And then when you're out in the open, then start running like a track star. That's all we need to see from you if you're Derrick Henry. But I think that I genuinely believe they don't get that fumble in the 4th quarter of last night, this game might not have gone the way of the Detroit Lions. However, back to my original question, has Dan Campbell done enough to really make us believe the Detroit Lions are back? Jury's still out, in my opinion.
It's going to be an uphill battle.
It really is. But this is a great sign going forward. And if you could pull off a win here in the next 2 weeks, win the next 2 games and get back to winning football, I think that people are going to start turning their sights around on the Detroit Lions a little bit. I think we start talking about them and the Green Bay Packers as the 2 top teams in the NFC. Because to be honest with you, they have the offensive talent and the defensive talent to still be that just dynamic Lions team we saw from last year. We just need to see them continue to develop. And we need to see guys like Kelvin Benjamin, the defensive coordinator, who did a fantastic job yesterday, and the new offensive coordinator, whose name escapes me right now, but I know he's from the Sean Payton group. If they can continue to make this team shine and look great against big teams like this in Baltimore, we're going to be fine. I think Detroit's going to be fine. And all the Lions fans can take a big old sigh of relief saying, oh, thank God.
Well,
We're
Baltimore
not going back to 0-16.
Traveling to Kansas City, and the Lions are home against the Browns this week.
Absolutely. And honestly, the number 1 defense coming to Detroit. This is going to be a big question mark and a big test for the Detroit Lions. Can you score 30 against the Cleveland Browns and do what the Packers couldn't? That's going to be a big test. Well, we're going to take a break real quick, pay some bills. We'll get to some more stories on the other side. We also got plenty more to talk about in the world of sports. Jake Paul, Tank Davis, their match card was released, plus the rules. I'll give you a rundown of that before the end of the show. And we got KG coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. This is the Early Bird Special right here on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield.
Call or text into the Early Bird Special on YouTube.
Welcome back. Real quick, I have to tighten myself up.
I said Calvin Benjamin, which is clearly the wide receiver in the NFL. I meant Kelvin Shepard, the now defensive coordinator of
The
the
old
Detroit Lions.
Dolphin linebacker.
Yes.
Who I didn't even realize that was the defensive coordinator until last night. And I said, hey, I remember watching you play. He was actually pretty solid for you guys, too. Never really a superstar, but I'm glad to see that he had the mind for the game, obviously, and has been able to shift into the defensive coordinator spot relatively well for the Detroit Lions. And
I was thinking the
see.
same thing when I heard Ike Hillard. I was
Yeah.
like, he's a Falcons coach, or
Yep.
was a Falcons coach.
No, yeah, and that's the other thing too. They let him go. I mean, they let go of the wide receiver coach, and that's the weird thing, right? I mean, we're talking about who is going to be let go coach-wise yesterday, in terms of the Giants and Brian Dable, and if we're ever going to see Dable actually coach Jackson Dart, or if it's going to, be the levee that breaks first. Seeing teams let go of certain coaches during the season makes me scratch my head, especially if we're blaming the entire 30-0 loss on a head coach that was your wide receiver coach. I highly doubt. I'm sure there's more internal things that'll come out later. But now we're hearing from people around the league about certain head coaches that I really wasn't even considering being on the hot seat, but I can kind of see it. But first, let's just let the man speak for himself. Chris Canty from Unsportsmanlike had a very interesting take when it came to the Cincinnati Bengals. If they continue these woes and continue to play at just such low levels, the front office might be forced to make a move. So let's hear from Chris Canty real quick.
How can we not look at this performance by the Bengals offense as an indictment on head coach Zach Taylor? I get that he doesn't have Joe Burrow, but an injury to your starting quarterback isn't an excuse for incompetence. If Sunday's loss to the Vikings is a prelude on what's to come, then there's no way the Bengals make the decision to stay the course with Zach Taylor as their head coach beyond 2025. He's got 1 year remaining on his contract. Even for a notoriously cheap franchise like the Bengals, they should be able to justify the cost of moving on. It's no doubt that the shift would represent a clear and obvious opportunity for the Cincinnati Bengals to upgrade their head coaching position because of how everybody around the league views quarterback Joe Burrow.
I could see what he's talking about, but what are your thoughts on this, my friend? I don't know if necessarily Zach Taylor should be blamed for
Putting everything into one hat.
I mean, yeah, because if you really look at, like he just said, the notoriously cheap front office that you're working with, you clearly don't want to pay the star players that are there, causing them to play or be disgruntled and not really want to play there, which means they're not going to give their full effort, no matter who the head coach is. So is it really fair to put all of this on Zach Taylor?
I mean, he is the head coach, but
True.
I mean, we were talking about this all off season. I mean, they decided to pay out the behind to all the offensive stars, which, you don't want to see T. Higgins. I mean, that's been an ongoing battle every offseason.
He's been absolutely
been nothing.
Just ghost.
Jamar Chase, obviously you're going to keep your wide receiver one, but like the listener texted in yesterday, I mean, he's a Bengals fan and he's seen it. He said this is the third year that, that Burrow's gone for the season, or 90% of it. And I wouldn't already jump on that ship that Zach Taylor's on his way out. I mean, it was one huge loss. I get it. It was a big loss. But let's see how they react this week. Maybe, some more quarter one reps, for Browning. I still think that they should be shopping around to see what kind of veteran presence they could get until then.
I mean, Kirk Cousins is sitting there in Atlanta. You might as well give a call.
And I mean, there's other teams with multiple quarterbacks that, might be shopping
Honestly,
for. So
Tyrod Taylor, if Justin comes back here in the next couple of weeks and the Jets feel like they could get some pieces for him, I think they could move on from him as well. But that's a good point.
There's a team with Cleveland in that same division. It's got 15 quarterbacks. So I'm just saying, if it's really depending on this season, he said he's got 1 year left on his deal. I don't know, man. I'm more looking at the big picture. I mean, how much money you just paid for Burrow? I get it. He's a once in a lifetime type quarterback, but in the same boat, this is the third year in 5 or 6 years that he can't complete a season.
Right.
So, I mean, when do you start looking into, okay, well, maybe we need to get some type of insurance on this guy because we're putting a ton of money into these offensive players with a quarterback that's a little shaky when it comes to health.
And the injury problems obviously are starting to garner comparisons to Andrew Luck, which isn't a good sign if you're a quarterback, to be honest with you. Well, it is, I guess, in terms of skill, because we all know how good Andrew was. But when you are as injury prone as Andrew Luck, there's going to be a lot of just issues that come with that. I just don't know if you could blame Zach Taylor for all of this. Now, granted, I agree with what Chris said and what you said as well. He is the head coach. And unfortunately, you're the first one to take all of the blame
It comes with the
outside of the
position.
quarterback. And when your quarterback is injured, clearly you can't blame the quarterback for this. So, like you just said, it comes with the position, and that's just part of the job that you're going to have to deal with. It just was not one of the first ones in my head coming into this season that we would be talking about would be Zach Taylor being on the hot seat. I do kind of see that this would go down this way, though, that the Cincinnati Bengals, but my thoughts are more that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to blame Zach Taylor for all of this and say, see, it wasn't us. It wasn't the front office not paying players or paying the wrong players, T. Higgins, or any of these other guys. It was the head
game
coach.
plan. Yeah.
It was the game plan. He couldn't get it to work. We'll go hire somebody that will. And it's not going to work for that guy either. And we're just going to have essentially a dumpster fire or a Bruin for the second time in NFC North, right after it looks like the Cleveland Browns have been able to at least stifle out theirs. And it's unfortunate to see, but I just don't feel like blaming Zach Taylor for the woes of the Cincinnati Bengals is a fair comparison. But
I
that's
mean, listening to Eisen yesterday, Eisen said he's still all in on Browning. He said, I'm not going to give up on the guy for after 1 week. He still thinks that there's some potential and that, he can at least drive Cincinnati. But my bigger question is not the coaching position. It's really Burrow's future.
Yeah, 100%. And it's going to be whether he can actually stay healthy. If there is one thing that Cincinnati needs to learn from this is that you need to make an offensive line that's going to keep him upright, because it doesn't matter how many wide receivers you sign to $100 million deals if they can't catch the football. If you can't throw them the football, there's no point. I've never understood that when it comes to the NFL, is that we are so quick to sign and hire all of these wide receivers and quarterbacks to $100 million deals, but we very rarely ever hear of a lineman getting that. Now, granted,
Are you listening, Dolphins?
Lineman's shelf life is probably much shorter, I grant you. And younger guys coming in usually impress. And just if you could find one that lasts for 20 years, like a Chris Lindstrom or a Zach Martin, or, the list goes on, Zach Taylor, whatever you want to talk about, those are ones that you obviously covet. You pay that kind of money. But realistically speaking, you need a great offensive line across the board. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles. That's how they make it look effortless.
Look at the Lions.
The Lions, yes, that's another
Louise.
great example. We saw it last night. They manhandled a top-tier defense in Baltimore and made them look stupid. So if you do not have the offensive line to do that, Cincinnati, it's not going to look at the Indianapolis Colts. That's a perfect example. 3-0 right now, keeping Daniel Jones upright, something the Giants could never do. Letting Daniel actually sit back there and throw instead of having him have to run around all the time and try to get away from everything. If you can keep the quarterback upright, you can win football games. And that's really where where the long and short of it lies at this point for me with the Cincinnati Bengals. It's not the head coach and Zach Taylor. Let's take a break real quick, pay some bills. I know we got a loud, bald man behind you that's not allowing you to talk right now.
I'm going to walk into his show.
I know, right? And he gets mad at us when we walk into his. We got to take a break, pay some bills. This is the Early Bird Special right here on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield.
Stay connected with
make you want to go watch Transformers movies. This is the Early Bird Special, though, on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. Plenty more to talk about in the world of sports right now, especially the world of football. We mentioned it a little bit in the last segment. Atlanta Falcons have moved on from their wide receiver coach, Ike Hillard, for what the Athletic is claiming is performance reasons.
Yeah, I was reading the same thing.
The wide receivers have not caught a single touchdown in the first 3 weeks of the season, which obviously is not something you want. But I think that tempers flared a little bit last week with the Carolina game. Probably words were exchanged because Raheem Morris did not look happy at all during that game. The entirety on the sideline during the press conference, usually you could tell this man wears his emotions on his sleeve, and you could tell he was not happy whatsoever. So I'm assuming tempers flared, words were said, probably thrown back and forth. Your wide receivers are da-da-da. Well, your schemes are da-da-da. And a mutual departure was probably swiftly found therefore after. I cannot say I was not in the room, but that is just me and outside looking in kind of a situation. But I found it kind of weird that Atlanta moved on from the wide receiver coach on a random Monday after getting blown out 30-0 to the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, like it was just the receivers' problems.
Right. Now, what I can say, there are definite issues in the Atlanta camp. Watching that game on Sunday was ugly. 2 weeks in a row now, we have had a timeout called. The team comes up the next play, and it's a delay of game. What's going on? I don't know if that's on Penix. I don't know if that's on the OC. I don't know if that's on Raheem Morris. I really don't know who to blame. Maybe it's to blame on the wide receiver coach, and that's why he got fired. But this was a very odd move by the Atlanta Falcons just randomly 3 weeks through the season. It seems TJ Yates, the passing game coordinator, will be taking over as wide receiver coach. He was the wide receiver coach back in the Arthur Smith days in 2022 and 23. He's been with the team for God knows how long. Love TJ Yates. He's also been the quarterback coach and probably will be the head coach at some point if Raheem Morris gets fired again, because that's just how Arthur Blank works. But what were your thoughts reading into this? Because to be honest, I just found this to be a little weird, and I'm a Falcons fan.
It's definitely weird. I was more, I read the reasoning of, at least that's what they released as the 0 touchdowns to a receiver or a tight end. But I think it was more of the penalties, the turnovers, and maybe it's just them not being on the same page. Maybe that's something that, head coach is seeing, okay, well, this is my weak spot right now, and I'm going to take it out on him. And I think that's something we need to adjust going into week 4.
Do you think this could have potentially been one of those, and for, again, lack of a better name that pops up in my head, but a power move to kind of get everybody else on their game as well?
Exactly.
Like, this is the head coach saying, I'm going to fire somebody like a supervisor just to get everybody else to figure it out and say, hey, if you don't, I'm going to fire you too.
I think if that is your position, whether it's a wide receiver coach or, linebacker coach, if you're not up to par, and maybe a blowout like that is just what they need. Maybe that's what they needed to change, and hopefully they can shake it off and go into week 4 with a different mindset, because that's really what it takes.
Should have fired the kicker too at the same time, left his butt on the sidewalk. I'm just, ugh.
I did
miss two
did
kicks, 2 field goals.
I was surprised that I know after the Niner game that coach was saying he thought Bosa got by without a significant injury.
I was just about to get to that too.
Bosa, it was a
Bosa.
significant injury, out for the season.
The Bosa boys are fragile, man.
Yes.
And it sucks because they are so good. And I feel like God blesses us with these athletes just to show us little glimpses, though. You know what I mean? Like Derrick Rose, all of those guys, like there are those athletes that God blesses us with that just are what if stories, what could have been. And unfortunately, this ACL injury is going to keep him out for the rest of the year. It's going to be a significant ding to that 49er defense. It really is. Although Fred Warner is still going to be out there doing everything he can, and you have a great young core of a front seven. Losing Nick Bosa is going to be probably a major game changer for the 49er defense here going forward, because now you're not going to have that guy that gets double teamed. And all of these young studs are going to have to go one-on-one with some of these great linemen that they're going to be facing in the NFC West, or I'm sorry, NFC West. I apologize. And it's just going to make it tougher for them to stop these offenses from scoring. And right now, with Brock Purdy still questionable, although they are rumoring he's supposed to be back this week, I would expect, though, that if he's not fully ready to go, we'll see Mac Jones in a third week in a row, which probably won't be a bad thing. He's looked pretty solid for them the 2 weeks they've gone to him. But losing Nick Bosa has to be just a heartbreaker for a lot of those defensive players in San Francisco, because I know how much he means to this team. And he's going to be a locker room guy. He'll probably be in there while he's rehabbing. But it sucks to see. I'm a massive fan of the Bosa boys.
Well, speaking of Mac Jones, I know there's a whole different type of coaching tree and coaching schemes. But, I mean, it seems like teams like the 49ers, it always seems to be next man up, whether it's Mac Jones, whether it's Brock Purdy, whether it's, we've seen it for years. For a long time, we've seen guys step up, Jimmy G, you know what I mean? And it's just the things. And, I mean, coming from a team that just paid Brock Purdy and we're nervous after he went down with, a toe injury, and next man up. I mean, the San Francisco, the offense seems to be just fine. Obviously, they got Christian McCaffrey and they've got a solid offensive line, not the best, but maybe is that something other teams, I don't know if it's the scheme, the coaching, or just overall a easier offense to pick up. But I'm seeing teams that, lose their starting quarterback and just fall apart.
Well, from what I can tell you, and this is just my being a Falcons fan, and obviously Kyle Shanahan being the longtime OC over there, that was kind of the consensus the year they made it to the Super Bowl and had those really successful years with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. A lot of people were saying, well, anybody could be successful in that offense. Kyle Shanahan has a specific style of offense he likes to run, much like his dad, Mike Shanahan. And he picks players that fit that scheme exactly. He knows what he needs. He knows exactly what he can get out of guys. And to be honest with you, I don't think there's many head coaches out there that can do better than Mike or Kyle Shanahan in that area. And I think that's why these guys flourish so well. I think it's because he knows going in, okay, this guy really mirrors the skill set I need that used to be this guy. You know what I mean? Like, when you look at Brock Purdy, now I'm not necessarily saying that he's on par with Matt Ryan, but the way they control the game, the way they play the quarterback position, very, very similar. Very pass centric, but play action based. He can still use his legs if necessary, but he doesn't very often. And he usually beats you in the short to mid range game with one deep ball you are not expecting. So that's kind of
when
what
I
he looks
saw Mac
for.
Jones, I was like,
Exactly.
oh, he's a perfect fit in.
Exactly. And
it's a perfect thing.
It's really Brock Purdy light, is it right?
It reminds me of kind of what the Rams have done with McVay. McVay has those types of quarterbacks, and that's what I just don't see other coaches adapting to. And I mean, obviously, you're not going to get somebody that's just like Burrow. Obviously, that's one of a franchise type quarterbacks. But other teams, I'll pick on my Dolphins. You know what I mean? There's a lot of quarterbacks that can play that type of Mike McDaniel offense, which I've never understood why we put so much weight on the Tua situation when we've had 3 or 4 years knowing, okay, maybe Tua doesn't get through this season. But why isn't the backup ready? You know what I mean? Because I'm seeing he was staying guys in Frisco. He was with the guys in Frisco. You know what I mean? He's worked under these coaches. I just don't understand why other teams, other coaches don't try to adapt that type of backup quarterback positions.
And theoretically, Tua, at least when you drafted him, kind of fit the same kind of scheme. He was a very, again, short to mid-range guy. I think what he lacks is the deep ball accuracy, obviously, because just hasn't been able to figure that out in his pro game.
Hadn't had time.
No, hasn't had time to figure it out. You're absolutely right. And the injuries obviously don't help anybody. But when it comes to Shanahan, I just feel like he has done a great job at knowing if I can get guys that complement each other and fit this scheme perfectly,
Game managing
work.
quarterbacks.
yeah, it'll work. There's
They,
no
they
reason.
all remind me of like the Brady type.
Exactly. And there's no reason to get anybody super flashy because that's not what you're looking for. And honestly, some teams can do that. Some head coaches can do that. Some teams can't. The 49ers have just done an amazing job at sustaining that. And they know as long as they have their key pieces around them, your Christian McCaffreys, George Kittles, now Brandon Ayuk's, and all of these other big names that are going to help you win those games, there's no reason to go for anybody else. That's also why you see the 49ers usually sign their guys, pay their guys. Why? Because they know they're going to be there forever because they fit the scheme exactly the way Kyle needs them to. I think that's really what a lot of these head coaches want to do with these teams, but they usually run into problems when it comes to the front office and what the GM wants or the players and how they actually perform. And maybe that's not the guy you really saw as your guy, taking McDaniel into consideration here with Tua. Because I do wonder sometimes, I sit there and think, what would McDaniels do with this offense had you guys taken Justin Herbert instead of Tua that year? And is all of this necessity for Tua to be the guy stemmed around the campaign for Tank for Tua? Do you really just not want to be seen as stupid for having that be a thing? Because I think Jacksonville's in the same boat with Trevor. Trevor Lawrence is going backwards. He really is. And I think at this point, when you're Jacksonville, you're looking at it saying, well, we can't move on from this guy. We tanked for Trevor.
Yeah.
We literally went out of our way to lose for Trevor. Our fan base would give up on us if we did that.
Well, just so you know, they've already given up on you.
Exactly. So there's really no going back either way.
And I'll say this again, going into Monday night, if the Dolphins choke this game out to the Jets, it's over.
It really
I think
is.
that's when they start picking up the phone and start making calls.
I have to agree with you. You called it weeks ago, and I agreed with you then. I agree with you now. I mean, if you lose all three of these division games, you got to blow it all up. You have to blow it all up. Greer, McDaniel, Tua,
Tyreek.
all of it. Tyreek, blow it up. Go back to square one. Even if you guys don't win another game the rest of the year, it does not matter.
And so I'm hearing that there's some good quarterbacks in this
Take
upcoming
for
draft.
Archie.
No, I don't want to hear that. But I didn't say it on the air yet, but I started hearing in Friday, my buddies out in Florida, season ticket Dolphin holders, there's a lot of Belichick to Miami talk.
We talked about it over the phone last week. I don't think there's any legitimacy to it, to be honest. But
I sure hope not.
It's much like Nick Saban, as long as he's available. And I mean, Pete Carroll, even to a point, was the same way. As long as he's available, there's going to be some NFL, reporter or team that's going to be interested in saying, I wonder if he'd come here. So I don't think there's any legitimacy to it, at least right now.
It just makes too much sense to not even hear about it. So I was like, man, his beef against Kraft, he's only chasing one more quarterback on the all-time winning list, and it's Don Shula.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, man, I don't even know how I would react to that. And Dolphin fans right now are telling me.
But see, he's not just going to drop everything in North Carolina to go to Miami and have a 1-16 team.
No,
let's not say you go 1-16.
No,
but he's not going to do that. I don't think he would do that.
I didn't think he was going to go to North Carolina either. So
that's
see.
absolutely fair. That's absolutely fair.
We'll take a break. We'll wrap up this hour, and we'll have 24KG talking WrestlePalooza and recap Monday Night Raw, and right here on the Early Bird Special.
Call or text into
call center in another state. They're right here in our community with local technicians who know Kern County businesses inside and out. While other IT companies make you wait hours or even days for support, Adaptive Networks delivers lightning fast response times. We're talking minutes, not hours, because when your systems are down, every minute counts. Their team doesn't just fix your problems quickly either. They treat you like the neighbor you are. Real people, real relationships, real results. So why settle for distance support when you can get local expertise with world-class response times? Call Adaptive Networks today at 661-241-0638 or visit adaptive-net.com. Adaptive Networks, your local IT experts, always here when you need us.
Amber and Ian.
Tua was awful. Mike McDaniel was awful. Here's the
Tyreek
Miami
Hill
Dolphins.
has not had a 30-yard plus catch in over a year.
And the thing is, Ian, they're not going to be the worst team in the NFL. They're not going to be the worst team and get me the number 1 overall pick. There's not going to be some fancy quarterback who comes in and saves this thing. No, they're still going to rip off like 7 wins. Watch. Mediocre as heck.
4 to 7 p.m. ESPN Bakersfield. 12:30 a.m. 101.1 FM. Freddie and Harry are live weekdays from 3 to 4 p.m. right here on ESPN Bakersfield. 12:30 a.m. 101.1 FM. Now, back special.
Welcome back.
Shut up, Amber.
Who's Amber? Oh, Amber.
Oh
Amber.
my God,
I was
man.
like, who are you hating on right now? Why are we throwing some shit? But I mean, again, there's frustrations, man. I'd love to see you, Amber, and Joy Taylor sit down in a room and talk about Miami football.
Any day.
I would produce that any day of the week just to see what the three of you would come up with, because it's 3 completely different takes. And all 3 of you are right in completely different ways.
Like our house every Sunday.
It really
We're
is.
3 different generations of Dolphin fans.
Here's the problem. When there are 3 different methods of telling everybody why you suck, you need to figure out a way to blow it up. You do.
I don't
You
think
really
blowing it
do.
up is really the answer. We've done that 20 times.
Take the grenade. Bullpen.
That
throw it
doesn't
away.
always work.
It's gone. Boom.
We've done that 20 times.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of teams have, though. I mean, not everybody can be the New England Patriots and turn it around within 2 to 3 years, which is
Look at them now.
stupid. But let's talk a little bit more about some other teams. We didn't get to talk about this game a lot yesterday, but let's talk about this fumble of a game when it comes to the Packers and the Cleveland Browns. Jordan Love had an awful game, unfortunately, against the number 1 defense in the NFL. But there seems to be, at least from what Matt LaFleur said, a little bit of a fat-headedness from the Packers through the first 2 weeks. They started believing their own hype and thinking they were going to go undefeated. And here's what Matt LaFleur had to say about that.
I just think this league is such a week-to-week league, and you can never lose sight of that. And you can't take any moment, any game for granted. And the goal, and I've said it a million times to you guys, I don't think I've obviously said it enough to our team. The goal is to go 1-0 every week. It pisses me off when we start talking about things outside of the next game, things that are way down the road. Like, keep the focus on the present, on the now, and worry about getting better each and every day.
So obviously you don't want to read your own press clippings. And that's what leads to this, especially 2 weeks into the season. You're already talking undefeated. Really? You guys got through 2 weeks. And one of them was against the Detroit Lions team that we had no idea what we were going to get. We really didn't.
It kind of happens when you sign Micah and everyone's all happy.
True.
It's like Disneyland trip.
No, and everybody on ESPN was pinning the Packers as the best team in the NFL, and they were going to win the Super Bowl. And you're right. That's absolutely fair. But do you think that this was a good thing for them to have this all come to a stop this early in the season?
Yep. Same thing I said yesterday. I think it's a perfect timing. All right, let's get one out. And, kind of like Micah said in his press conference after the game, he said, we're not perfect. It's a team effort and you can't win them all. He said, that's why it's so tough to be undefeated. And I think it's perfect timing. I'd rather do it in week 3 than week 17 or, early in the playoffs.
Exactly.
So at least it's a self-check. Okay, let's get together. Let's clean up what we have. And I think I think there's still, I would almost give them a better chance to bounce back, just getting this loss out the way.
I agree with you. And honestly, I would say this was the humbling, not the wake-up call. I think there's going to be a long stretch of games where the Green Bay Packers are successful and win every game. You'll probably have about a 6-game win streak at 1.7, maybe even more than that. And then that's when that one wake-up call loss is going to come as well, right before the playoffs. But I think this is the opportune time. You have to have these humbling games eventually, especially against teams like Cleveland, where everybody we have told this to doesn't believe me. One, they all look at me like I'm crazy and say, no, they're not. That's the number one defense in football right now is the Cleveland Browns. That front seven is the number one defense in terms of yardage and a lot of other things. So maybe this was a tougher game for them to win than everybody really realized. And everybody's going to see here in week 4 that the Packers are still the Packers. But at the end of the day, you need a loss like that early. Because if you don't and you go into your season thinking, oh, we're 5-0, 6-0, we're going undefeated, baby, we're never losing. And just like Sparky said, that loss comes in week 15, 16, right before the playoffs and is a shell shocker to you. Now you're losing probably week 1 of the playoffs because you still haven't figured it out yet. This is the perfect time. I like hearing Matt LaFleur get into it too and tell his guys, yeah, focus up. We still got plenty more to do. We got our guy 24KG on the other side, talk all things wrestling. This is the Early Bird Special right here on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield.
Years, whether you're planning for retirement.
Here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
God, am I the only one that's actually kind of over this song? I'm not like the low.
I am over the intro.
Yeah,
I love the song, but I'm kind of like I'm in new Oos world where I'm like, oh, I'm just sick of this. I fast forward through it if I could.
think you kind of get fatigued with all of these guys' songs and stuff like that. That's
Seth.
why you got to change it up every so often. I'm still waiting for the Limp Bizkit version of Braun Breaker's song
Mhm.
because they haven't dropped that yet. But I dig Becky's new song as well. But Cody's, for some reason, I'm so over it. I don't know why. We haven't heard it in forever. We just heard it at WrestlePalooza for the first time, and God knows how long. But I still just I'm more of a Seth Rollins guy, my dang self. But we have our guy 24kg in the building to talk all things wrestling. We got to get to All In too at some point because that was a fantastic show in its own right. But sir, how are you? How's your week?
This is how we doing, man.
Oh Lord,
this is how we doing.
We're back in the 49er where
This is how we're doing. This is how we're doing. Bang bang, Niner gang. Salutations, gentlemen.
Oh my gosh!
Well, real
don't
quick,
say that. Your mic is super low.
It really is. We're gonna turn you up. But I think that's on my end, my friend. Real quick, since you are a Niner fan and we did just talk about it.
Yes.
Nick Bosa being out for the rest of the year.
Hey,
how are your feelings on this?
I think you guys summed it up pretty accurately. There's a lot of opportunities for other guys to make big plays. The Niners take care of their guys. Bosa, unfortunately, it kind of sucks at this time, but actually it kind of works out. You know what I mean? Hopefully we'll see him later on in the season if it's not that bad as updates progress. You guys are always first with the info when it comes down here to Bakersfield and ESPN. So if I have any concerning questions about Nick Bosa's status, I'll hit you guys up. I'm not gonna worry about the interwebs.
I appreciate the nod, but yeah, we get our information a lot of the time from the interwebs. So
yeah, I know.
But we just don't sleep.
Yeah, we just try not to. I mean, you can see the circles under Sparky's eyes are starting to get there more than mine.
Hey,
now.
I was asleep.
I got
was
a whole
asleep
4
as
hours last
soon
night.
as Raw was ending. I was.
See, I was struggling.
Fortunately, next week we have an earlier start time to combat NFL viewership, which will be starting about an hour early next week.
Is it next week or was that this week? I thought that
No,
they
it's
started
next
at 4
week.
o'clock this week. Oh, okay, fantastic. I didn't miss it then. I was sitting there at 4 o'clock yesterday running the sister station. I was like, oh Lord, I'm going to be 2 hours behind on Raw instead of just one.
Well, before we get into WrestlePalooza and all the other stuff, you brought up the timing, and I've had multiple wrestling fans text me complaining about how early they're going to have to get up at this next PLE.
Perth, Australia, Crown Jewel, right?
Yes.
I mean, again,
what's the start time for that in American time?
Probably going to be in the 8 o'clock area.
What I'm looking at the text right now.
10.
I believe it was 7.
Is it 7 in the morning? That makes sense. Because I remember the Australian shows are traditionally 7 or 8 o'clock. Saudi Arabia, I believe, is around noon.
It says 5 a.m. Pacific.
5 a.m.
8 a.m. Eastern. Yeah, so he sent me the poster, and I said, "What is this?" And he said, "It's the Crown Jewel. Are you getting up at 4:30 in the morning?" I said, "I already get up at 4:30 in the morning."
Shoot,
yeah,
I'm already up. We could do a whole show afterwards. Sure,
right?
Why not?
Just thug it out.
Let's see if Dionysus will open it up for us.
Right? Yeah,
he could be brewing while we make omelets or something.
I don't think he's
5 a.m. chicken wings, y'all.
I mean, he's a fanatic too, so we'll see.
I don't know.
Maybe we can get a breakfast truck out there and make our own omelets or whatever. We'll make something work. We are called the early bird special for a reason.
We got some Braun Breaker and egg omelets going on. Let's go.
Kyle, we need to talk already. We need to bring you in this week just to talk. We need to talk now. This is actually a great idea. Anywho, let's talk WrestlePalooza first before we get to
let's.
Running at Monday Night Raw. Were you surprised as I about this whole Brock just running roughshod through John Cena to start the show? I mean, kids crying to the point of it being uncomfortable.
Well, I don't know why everybody's surprised because that's the whole thing with Brock versus John. They've had several encounters, and over the years, John Cena has gotten a couple, but Brock has won the majority of them. clean without question. Now, if we have John Cena lose to Brock Lesnar, what was the whole point of bringing Brock Lesnar back? I think this really made way for the next encounter where we go see a possible team up with the Vision, Brock Lesnar at War Games versus basically WWE's All-Stars with Punk, Rhodes, Cena, Roman, Randy, whoever else they're going to have as their top elite guys that they're going to throw at each other for War Games. But God, I'm just gonna keep it real. I felt a little underwhelmed. Anybody who was surprised that was like, oh man, I thought John Cena was gonna pull this out. It's a retirement year. Nah. Cena's always put over Brock. That's the mystique of Brock Lesnar. We're in the ESPN era. Of course, they're gonna have Brock Lesnar as legit as we're ever gonna see him. He looks in phenomenal shape. Whatever he's doing, he's gonna keep doing it. But one thing I want to address is the statements by some people feeling like they were bamboozled, swindled. This could have been on a Saturday night PLE, an episode of SmackDown, 5 matches. Are we starting to run the course of that? Is Triple H starting to run thin on creative? But one thing that got me was a quote by ESPN Combat Sports reporter Andreas Hale for saying that it fell short of expectations. That was the consensus from ESPN board members, stockholders, and everybody else that was really looking forward to something more exciting as it was advertised to. There were no real surprises other than the women's world title match, which basically was the match of the night. And they rated it on a grading system, much as how we do and every other analyst would, from best to worst. And overall, they gave the PLE a C.
They gave it a C. ESPN gave their own PLE a C.
I mean, I wasn't impressed.
I wasn't either.
Is this ESPN calling out WWE basically on their BS for how they've skated by the last couple of months? Since the whole inauguration of Netflix, since them leaving broadcast or cable television to go on these streaming platforms, I would have to say yes. They are calling out WWE to provide better storylines, better things that we could go down the list of, but let's just start at the top of the PLE with John Cena and Brock Lesnar. We had a 9-minute match with 6 moves. Now that's what you can't expect from Brock Lesnar.
Yeah,
that's what you expect from both of these guys, though.
Yeah, especially at this age. Now, it may be 11 years ago when we first seen this happen, I believe at SummerSlam, where Brock Lesnar just destroyed. We had the inception of Suplex City. Yes, it was great to watch. But now when we look at this, these guys are legends. What we're seeing is the last of this series. So why not build it up and finish it off with something grandioso like War Games, which
hold on.
I could see possibly happening.
Here's my thing, though, because I think while watching this match, the only thing I could think of was this, and I'm glad I'm not the only one that was thinking it, because all I could hear on Busted Open yesterday from Bully Ray and from Dave LaGreca was the same thing. Brock is going to be his last match.
Yeah, it's a build-up.
This is a build-up. There's no reason for John to have lost like that if they're not going to give John his lick back at the very end.
He's got to get that W back. Most people were saying Gunther, but I don't see a reason for Gunther to come in and face John Cena after he gets his win back from Brock Lesnar. It doesn't make sense storyline-wise unless they want to put Gunther over as the guy who retired Cena. Now, if this was the Vince McMahon era, we would probably have El Grande Americano retire Cena, much like how we had Corbin retire.
Really.
Yeah, literally.
What I saw this morning was I totally agree. I was like, okay, well, this is just a buildup. That's why it's the first match. That's why he got his butt whooped that quick.
That's why you had the long walkout by himself.
And he started to turn around and just kept walking. But I did read.
The kids crying was awesome.
This is Rock.
Of course.
Was awesome.
They were like, where's the kid crying? Where is he? And I saw this morning they were talking more of The Rock returning at Survivor Series and setting it all up.
Look, I'm going to keep it real. There's always a rumor that The Rock's going to pop up somewhere. And I don't think he will. Honestly, he's focused on what's going on with the Smashing Machine movie coming out this October. He's training and preparing for another role already, as you can see with the massive undercut in weight. The Rock is, I would actually prefer him not to come back and boof up another storyline that we get no payoff on.
Well, only thing I would say, because I do it, I hear it after every PLA. Where was the Rock? Where was the Rock?
Right.
But I am
You
hearing
can't
that
help
Rock
that.
he wants one more last send off with Cena before he goes.
Well, of course.
And we have what, 4 or 5
have
hits
to
left.
You have to acknowledge the rivalry between the two of them too.
Most definitely. But do we want to see that?
I would just be more happy that it's just a visit than a match.
Not a match.
Because I don't want to see it.
We don't need Cena Rock again, but I like the idea of Rock coming down, having War Games be Team Corporate, which is going to be him, the Vision, Brock Lesnar, and his group against Team, I don't know, WWE, which will be all the Renegades like CM Punk, Roman Reigns, John Cena, like the big name guys.
All the All-Stars.
Jay will most likely be left out of it because I think this thing is brewing between him and LA Knight pretty well. So they'll probably continue that instead. But that is the extent of it, though. I don't think we need to see John v. Cena in a match again. That doesn't even happen.
Most definitely. Speaking of the Usos.
Yes. I think that was a great match, but
I didn't expect them to lose.
Yeah, neither did
I'm not going to lie to you. I did not expect them to lose.
Well, you kind of got to look at the setup for how the night went. If you have the Vision, the Bronze, lose earlier in the night, then that definitely means CM Punk and AJ Lee can't win. So, or somebody had to take the L that night on that team, because if they took the L, if CM Punk and AJ Lee lost, what was the whole point of bringing her back? Nonetheless, it was a good match. ESPN was quoted as saying the Usos have had better matches, of course, but for those fans that haven't been watching the last 10 years, these guys are highly decorated and one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Now, the Bronze did a great job as well. So I would have to really give the match a higher grade than ESPN rated it, which was a C, but a 9 to 12 minute intro really took the piss out of everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care how many times they say run it back. I was literally watching this like, I'm sorry, I would be gassed. And you could tell the Usos was gassed with that whole intro. But hey, shout out to them. Great cardio, great stamina, great showmanship for continuing going and pushing it on. So I really, really, though, have a problem with the fans being so incessant on the yeet chants that it is starting to clock time as far as what we're running into with a PLE performance. It's cutting short on matches. It's running over on certain things. And as you can tell from when the accident happened at the end of the match with Jey Uso hitting himself after he basically blasted Braun Breaker over the back, it bounced up and cut his forehead. So that end kind of got rushed, blood everywhere. Inaugural ESPN PLE christened in fluids. You know, that's what we got to right there, which I can't say was bad. It was a little intense, maybe more so for the people who are board members and you know, FCC regulators and whatnot that, you know, control viewership and what they can show as far as color.
Which was a perfect exit for McAfee.
Yeah, you know, it was very surprising also to see Pat McAfee back, you know, which was great. I love the way Michael Cole geeked out when they hugged each other, you know, real bro moment right there. But the match itself, they gave it a C. I would give it a B-. You know, it was some intense spots in there. I love to see Jimmy and Jay go out there for nostalgia purposes, but nonetheless, it was a great athletic, you know, clash of superior talents that WWE has produced over the years. So it was all right. It was all right. You know,
I feel like a C is a fair grade for it.
I was thinking the same thing. It was
B-C, you know.
There were a handful of spots too. You could tell they slipped a little bit. Like the double spear through the table didn't go exactly like they were supposed to. That's kind of hard to pull off.
Yeah, they tried a lot.
Unless Braun is going to super spear the two of them, which would hurt like a mofo and arguably be even more dangerous because God only knows where his head would land with that. Like, I don't know how you kind of pull that off in a corner.
I think one of the best spots in that match was the super tsunami where you see the table fold over Jimmy from the impact that Bronson gave off of that splash. It was the aesthetic was very, very well timed.
Yes,
you know,
you
couldn't have planned that. Yeah, you couldn't have planned that. It was really signaling defeat of the Usos, which kind of gave a little bit more legitimization to the Vision and this whole squad that they've got going on.
That went perfectly into the match of the night, I think, was Stephanie and Io, which we all kind of expected. But that was a hell of a match. And I was happy that we didn't get any run-ins because I was really expecting, okay, it's going to be Asuka or somebody's going to come out. And I think that match killed it.
I think Triple H knows by now, though, that an oversaturation of interference in these PLEs just makes it worse.
Yeah.
So,
and we got it last
yeah.
night, so.
Exactly. And honestly, the only thing that surprised me out of this match was the outcome. I genuinely thought they were going to put the belt back on Io just because it was Stephanie's first shot at it, and they usually don't just hand it over to her. But I'm starting to believe now and starting to like the idea that they're going to give her not only the golden treatment of just going around every show and being like, this is your new champion, but she's going to go down to AAA for a while, most likely, and run through their incredible roster of female talent down there with that belt probably being put up. Because
it's definitely a possibility. ESPN rated that match a B. Overall, I would have to say a B plus, because with it being match of the night, with two of the most highly skilled performers that WWE has to offer, not just in the women's division overall, out of any company, and Io Sky is just a mega star in her own right.
Oh yeah,
I got to get straight to the end of the match. We've seen a lot of impressive moves, a lot of great sequences, but that spinal tap swanton was, I mean, whoa. I stood up out of my seat. I didn't even know. Like, if we had the bleep button going right now, I literally was like, what the was that? I literally, like, I lost my cool, because we haven't seen anything like that since the days of young Jeff Hardy. And I mean, if it wasn't a thing of beauty, it was a thing of just shock and awe, literally, like you said, that they actually let that slide through with, all right, we're going to do the 1, 2, 3. We're going to put it on her right now. And overall was just, I could hear Booker T geeking like thousands of miles away. So I was overall satisfied with that match and was not surprised that it was categorized as match of the night. Hell, look what they did in that ring.
Absolutely. And I think
it had time to develop.
Yeah. I think it's a great testament to the fact that everybody was questioning if Stephanie was a safe worker when she first came up to the main roster and said she was rough and all of that type of stuff. I think this shows and proves that they trust her. That they trust both of them to do crazy stuff like that, that really not a lot of people would probably get the green light to do. Let's be honest.
Quick question. Seeing as how Crown Jewel is right around the corner and they do a square off the respective brands, champion versus champion.
Right.
Are you guys excited to see Tiffany versus Stephanie in this?
Well, again, that's a maybe, because Friday you have a triple threat between Tiffany,
Jade and
Nia. So it's whoever wins that takes on.
Keep it real, y'all. Keep it real. Keep it real. Come on,
I honestly
bump that, Chris. Come on.
Hear me out on this. Wouldn't be surprised if they give it to Nia. Because don't forget who was the one who won last year.
Yeah, but we haven't seen Nia really on television that much, which doesn't mean anything.
Oh, no, she's been down in NXT, though.
Also, I've heard rumblings of Nia Jax going to AAA also with another pair of WWE women's talents to, kind of not to run an invasion angle, but to let them know, Queen Nia Jax is really about that life.
I wouldn't be surprised, but to be honest,
it'd be a nice run.
I wouldn't hate seeing any of the three of them go against Stephanie at Crown Jewel. I really wouldn't. I think all three of them would present a really cool storyline and a really cool match for anybody to watch.
Definitely.
But personally, would not be surprised if they gave it to Nia. I really wouldn't.
I hope not, man. We team Tiffy over here, man. So I don't know.
I love Tiffy.
Okay, all right.
Her reign has gone long. It's gone longer than I think a lot of people have expected. And outside of this Jade storyline, does she really have any more true competitors on SmackDown right now?
That's a great point, because I was alluding to that, because when you have someone like Tiffany Stratton that commands a lot of attention, media hype, great pop whenever she's introduced, you can't really run her as a heel.
No,
because they'll cheer. They'll still cheer. You can't run her. Well, you can run her as a face. Of course, they'll still cheer. But
she's a true tweener, dude. She reminds me a lot of a young Randy Orton.
Yeah, no matter what they do, people are going to get behind it.
Exactly,
because she's such a great worker, and that's the result of that. When your work is great, doesn't matter how they present your character. People are they're gonna go ahead and cheer. They're gonna get into what you're doing.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the next match in this absolutely I think it was a fantastic PLE for what we got, but I wasn't expecting a whole ton.
The mixed match tag team
AJ
was horrible.
You didn't like it?
I think AJ is horrible, man. I just can't watch her, man.
How?
Her
Whoa!
moves are weak. She was
Hot take.
it looked like I was watching it at Strongbow Stadium. I was like, her moves are just snorefest, man. And she's not selling anything. And I was surprised why it took so long for him to tag her. But once he tagged her and I saw her moves, I was like, that's why. It was just horrible to watch. Personally, that's just my opinion. But I'm also, I'm Team Becky all the way.
True.
But when I saw her like going like this, I was like, okay, you're not even hitting anybody. And
I have to remind myself, this was your first time actually watching AJ
she was
wrestle,
just
right?
horrible to watch,
watching
man.
live, please go back
She
and
was
watch
just
this
horrible.
episode. Like how she was hitting her like what, man?
She wasn't even hitting anybody. And I'm like, how is she supposed to sell that?
I mean,
Okay. Look, go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
I have to remind myself that don't get me wrong. I don't want AJ back in the WWE for completely different reasons. I've already stated them last week. I think we're leaning too much on nostalgia at this point. But
a lot.
I love her as a wrestler. Now, don't get me wrong, I get why you would dislike her style of wrestling because it's one of those that you have to know where she's coming from with a lot of it. But this is why you get moves like Roxanne Perez when she jumps on him and does her screaming thing.
Yeah, she does the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nod to AJ.
Uh-huh.
I get it, but that's why her entire character is the crazy girl and that type of thing. So it's not meant to be a straight
move?
up fight.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I liked her finish
I don't know.
move. I like her finisher.
Yeah.
I mean, that seemed like a great move.
The submission
But
is
the
one of
whole
best,
thing
but
setting up to it, I was like, wow.
I don't know. I wouldn't say I hated the match. I thought it was pretty well paced, at least.
I liked when they were doing the moves together. I mean, that was dope.
That was
but
really cool. And the levy was going to break eventually. That's the one thing I hate. I wish they would make it tornado tags.
Yeah.
When in these mixed tag matches,
which
Let's
they
stop
kind of helped him
pretending-
do it for a little while.
Yeah, let's stop pretending like we're not going to have both of them fighting both of them at
Right.
the same time.
And what I
Definitely.
did like at the end, which went into Monday Night Raw, I was happy that now we can move along away from Seth and CM Punk. We can get away from this story for a little while at least, because as soon as I turned on Monday Night Raw, I was like, okay, now we can start a whole different story because I am getting bored with this whole CM Punk Seth Rollins deal.
Well, let me go ahead and jump in there and tell you some things that ESPN found wrong with this match that I can also agree with, but also some things that I actually liked about the match. The things that I didn't like, all right? 30 minutes plus was this match. Now, I get it. They needed some time to, warm up, and maybe the check engine light was coming on some of those knees and joints. We are working with veterans in there. But the length it took to develop the match, some of the sequences were very sloppy. Like you said, the whole cat scratch fever move that really had no sale purpose in it. They gave it a C. I would have to give it a C minus. For nostalgia purposes, I gave it an A. I love seeing AJ Lee back. Last time we seen her in the ring was in the show Heels. And, she's a great worker. You can tell she stays in shape. She was on point with most of the stuff and got more comfortable as the match developed. Now, man, let me just keep it real. If it wasn't for Becky Lynch putting over this generation of women in the company right now, when it's all said and done, Becky Lynch is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh,
The
yeah.
work she
No
puts
one's denying
in, getting people over, selling, working
Same
with
with
people
AJ.
on the fly when moves don't go as well. I mean, I gotta literally give props to Becky Lynch on carrying a big chunk of this match with certain things. Now, Seth and Punk were no slouch at all, but they did really, I'm not gonna say phone it in, but you can tell they were on cruise control for certain aspects. I do like the exchange of finishers where you see AJ Lee hit a curb stomp, the whole thing with the sharpshooter reversal and all that good stuff. The match overall just cooked a little too long. So it was tough for some people to digest, and I'll just leave it at that because it wasn't a meal that I would usually order first up or on any PLE for me. You could have put that as a main event on Raw or SmackDown or Saturday night, whatever, on Peacock or whatever platform they're going to be on in the future. It served its purpose, but it didn't have a place on that PLE. You could have easily put somebody else in that spot and given it to, I'm not saying a more deserving superstar because they're trying to sell names. I understand the business aspect of that, but we could have got a better quality match or a further development of a feud or rivalry.
No, 100%. But honestly, I think that was the point with this match. This was more for AJ and Becky than it was for Punk and Seth. Punk
Definitely.
and Seth will get a culmination of that at some point after Crown Jewel, after Seth takes on Cody for the ring.
Well, it was cool to see Punk on the side just clapping when he was supposed to be knocked out. And I mean, they had fun with it. I'm glad it's over. And hopefully they can move on.
Yeah,
and with the main event, Cody and Drew, what'd you guys think?
I mean,
disappointed.
Yeah, pretty much what I was expecting.
Trash.
Thought for sure we would
hot garbage.
Some sort of
whack
title change, but
yeah.
It makes sense though. With the Crown Jewel thing coming up, you obviously want Cody, who's the Crown Jewel champion, taking on the other champion, which is Seth Rollins. That's what they want. My only thing here, and we can end on this as well since we're running out of time, but the ring that they flashed on Monday. Now, Sparky might not get this a little bit because he doesn't watch AEW.
Oh, yeah.
Kimball, I know you do.
With the dark match?
No, there is a championship in AEW that's a ring.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you believe that this is WWE trying to one up AEW and say our ring is going to be more coveted than yours?
Yes, and yes and no, because yes, for the simple fact that AEW was really the first ones to kind of put out there that whole ring championship thing, but also because sports teams, ESPN era, they kind of knew this was coming last year. This deal was not overnight. Hell, they gave them close to, or if not $1 billion to secure this thing, and they're constantly giving out replica titles to teams. So why not adopt the philosophy of our champions have rings as well? Instead of replica belts, we could go ahead and start piecing off these rings for certain events that, hey, I won this, I won that, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of adds a more sports-like authenticity to the brand that WWE is infusing with ESPN, which is all things sports, of course. But, the match never really had time to get out the gate. It was rather short. It was more like a SmackDown main event. Unfortunately, Drew, I don't think this is the end for Drew. I could see him really joining up with somebody at War Games or something like that. Not saying he's going to team with Brock, but possibly he could team with Brock and the Vision and, go against the WWE All-Stars and whatnot. But nonetheless, I just really wasn't feeling it, man. I think Drew honestly should have won. That would have been great. That would have been great. That would have shocked the hell out of everybody. Couldn't nobody say like, oh, WWE didn't, deliver, or it was an underperformed PLE. Certain things did seem kind of phoned in. But at the end of the day, this is just another piece to move forward for what they're going to bring out on SmackDown or anything after Perth, because Drew is going to get his revenge. Hopefully it doesn't take too long and the storyline doesn't, and the storyline doesn't die out, but some of the time, hell, the majority of the time that they gave to the Punk and Seth match could have went to Cody and Drew. They just needed a little bit more time because 12 minutes, 12 minutes and some change for a main event, as intense as it was, it just never fully got out of the way. Got out of the gates.
That's also the only match though that didn't have a lot of build up going in. So
not at all.
Not
at all.
Kind of rushed.
But real quick before we let you go, because I have one thought that just popped in my head, and we'll end on this. But do you think at some point that they're going to be a connection between Crown Jewel and WrestleMania in 2027 for that ring? Because it just makes sense to me now. Because what you were saying about them trying to make it more sports-like. Obviously, WrestleMania is wrestling. Super Bowl would only make sense that Crown Jewel and WrestleMania would meet right in the middle in 2027 in Saudi Arabia, and you would have essentially champion versus champion of whoever at the time is the champion.
Well, it makes perfect sense, and it's a possibility. These things are always likely to happen in WWE or in any of their company meetings of potential product that they could put on the website, and hell, who wouldn't buy? the WWE Championship ring that signifies different PLE victories. That's just an extra $400 for them to take from you on top of the thousands that they are
honestly,
getting
Oh my
from
gosh.
us
Don't
yearly.
even get
you
into
know?
prices right now. I
No.
saw the cost of the WrestleMania,
And they
but
said they're only going up.
it was like 8,000 or something like that. But we have 2 texts I want to run by KG before we go because we never really get to because we always run so damn long. But one said Drew versus Cody 100% trash, and the other one said, "What do you guys think about the Adam Copeland love for Cena in his match?"
I loved it, but again, he's been making illusions.
It was
to
very
all
nice.
his rivals.
Yeah,
I-
it was very nice, man. You know, one thing I got to shout out there about Monday Night Raw, Grayson Waller sold the hell out of that super Mexican destroyer
Did
from
you
the
see him
mid-rope.
shaking in the
Remember
ring?
It was great.
afterwards, holding
It
his
was
neck?
great. I know we didn't get to really
Acting.
cover
Oh my
Raw right now,
Lord.
but I'm gonna put it out there. Raw had a better feel to it
Yes.
than certain parts of WrestlePalooza, and I think it took ESPN calling out WWE Creative to say we demand more for what we paid. We don't want a buyer's remorse situation. So put up or shut up.
Do we
And
get
I
a
think
Kabuki Warriors versus Rhea and Io?
At some point, yeah.
at some point it's gonna have we're gonna see the best
Yes.
series of matches in these next few months because of the pressure ESPN is putting on WWE than we've seen all year, and I guarantee it.
This is going to be interesting. But, sir, thank you so much. We've run out of time, unfortunately. We'll talk to you next week. And we are brewing on these wrestling videos that will be coming out very, very soon. We actually are working on a location to do them and just need to work out some kinks. But there should be some extra stuff coming to the YouTube channel very soon between the three of us talking wrestling and all the other stuff we don't get to during these segments. But we got to take a break, pay some bills. Yes, yes. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Good for you.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes,
we'll
sir.
talk to you next week, my friend. This is the
Peace.
Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield.
Call or text into the
Now I get why we heard the Cascars.
Hit the jump button on it, or my space bar when I was doing it.
I caught that. I was just trying to let it
Damn
go. I'm gonna cut that piece out of the video for you, so it'll be
I
fine.
was trying to mute Ozzy.
That's hilarious.
We did get a couple texts we can run through real quick.
let's
That's
do it.
nothing crazy. The next one said if the Ravens lose this week, they are doomed. But I think it's a bigger question is if the Chiefs lose and the Chargers continue to go off. What do you guys think?
I think the bigger issue would definitely be the Chiefs losing again and the Chargers going off some more. Because again, Chargers head to the New York Giants. We still don't know who's going to be starting as the quarterback for the Giants. I mean, we'll get to the Dable audio here in a second, but if they go down one more game, 1-3, and they have to deal with a potentially 4-0 Chargers team, that's a tough thing to come back from. Jim Harbaugh is one of the best coaches. He's going to make sure the Chargers continue on this trend. And
it's really going to be on Baltimore to beat Pittsburgh.
It really is. And I think that is a better chance than Kansas City catching up to a red hot Chargers team. That's just my thought process. I think you're right, though, to say if you do lose this game to the Chiefs on Sunday, there's going to be some question marks and there's going to be some concerns because obviously you don't want to be losing to the Chiefs at any point in time.
I think the Chiefs are in trouble, and I know they've got Rice coming back in a couple more weeks. I think it was 6 games.
Yes.
So he's halfway through his suspension.
Yeah, him and Ayuk, I think, come back the same week.
I think if the Chiefs, are 1-5, but when Rice gets back, that's going to be a big hole to get out of.
But see, that's my thing. Hard to say that Rashee Rice is really the reason that they aren't playing well. You know what I mean?
It definitely will help. But yeah, I think it's offensive line, the drops, the penalties, and the defense. Yeah, they're helping. But I'm not expecting much out of Kansas City.
And you also
year.
went up against the Philadelphia Eagles, who have been tough. Again, the red hot Chargers, who have been proven are proving to everybody that they're a contender. I mean, they've gone up against pretty rough teams outside of the Giants.
You know what really is surprising to me on the AFC side is, who is ranked the worst offense right now?
Who's that now?
Houston.
Yeah, I mean, 0-3. CJ Stroud does not look like CJ Stroud.
And I know he's down some receivers and he's down but it's
just a weird move right now in Houston. I don't want to I can't say that they're waiting for Joe Mixon to be successful, but you're right. I mean, I don't know exactly what's going on with D'Amico Ryans in that offense. They haven't been able to put anything together. And it's a weird thing to see. I'm not going to lie. If you told me 3-4 weeks into the season, we'd be talking about the Colts and the Jaguars leading the AFC South, I would have called you crazy.
Right.
But here we are. The Colts are undefeated and the Jaguars are 2-1, even though I keep saying Trevor Lawrence has regressed, which is saying a lot.
It is. And the next one says, you guys aren't doing the waiver wire because my team is falling apart.
It's tomorrow. We're going to do it on Wednesday.
Trust me. My team is one of my several teams is falling apart as well. But just stay.
It's all good. We're going to help you. Waiver wire will be on Wednesday.
And I mean, I lost by 2 points in my big dynasty league, and I had Trey Tucker with 45 points on my bench.
Oof.
And I'm like, dude, who would have known? But I won't let
Bobby
that happen.
Wagner on my bench. He had 25 points.
And
as a linebacker.
The last one's from my buddy Mike in Florida. He said,
good sir,
you guys aren't tripping. I swear, in Miami, we're hearing nothing but Belichick to Miami. And surprisingly, I'm hearing Brian Flores and Saleh could be returning to Miami.
I could see.
I don't see the Saleh thing, but I can see Flores. The more I thought of it.
Saleh leaving the 49ers again could potentially happen for the right job. I don't know if Miami's that job. Flores going back to Miami,
it makes
almost a lot of sense, especially if you end up firing Greer too, and they sit there and say, "All right, we're willing to move on from Tua," because that was the biggest thing with Brian
with
Flores.
The big old grin on his face.
I told you so.
I told you.
But also, just throwing this out there. The NFL could dodge a major lawsuit if they just hire Brian Flores as the head coach.
Be like, hey, hit up Stephen Ross, the billionaire, and be like, hey,
say, hey,
we'll help you. We'll get you some primetime games.
Help him out.
we'll shoot you a P Diddy show in Miami
Exactly.
when he's getting released in a couple weeks. So hey,
no Diddy, but at this point, I would not be surprised if they call Brian Flores and kill two birds with one stone.
I would take. I'm a defensive guy. I would take Flores over Belichick any day, anytime.
And I just, again, although Bill Belichick going to Miami, I think is
it's a Disney story. Man.
Yeah, exactly. It's very shiny, and everybody thinks that'd be really interesting to watch. I don't think that there's any validity to it right now. He just got to North Carolina. Let's let him hate North Carolina first.
Yeah, let his girlfriend make the decisions first.
Exactly. Let's let him sit there and
but
say,
man,
wow,
the more I thought of it, the more I thought about the Belichick, because I thought he was joking when he texted me that last week. I was like, no way. And the more I talked about it, I was like, are you kidding me? Because now he hates Kraft. He wants to play, and he wants to get back in the NFL. He's only a few wins away from Shula.
Right.
And how would this story end perfectly if he was in Miami when he broke the Shula record? And I just don't want to see it.
Well, I know you don't want to see it. I don't think I think a lot of the Miami fan base wouldn't want to see it, to be honest with you. But if it came at the expense of a Super Bowl to Miami, I think a lot of you would forgive it. I am just saying.
I want a Super Bowl as much as any other Dolphin fan, but if that's what it's going to take, really, man.
Well, and let's also not forget that Bill Belichick has never won a Super Bowl without Tom Brady.
Exactly. And he wants to shut that up too. You don't think he hears about that all the time?
But you're not going to, Bill.
No.
It's not going to happen.
No, just stay in North Carolina, brother.
I'm just saying, man, build something out there in college first. Let's see if you can equal Nick Saban, because I think that's genuinely why he chose North Carolina and he chose to go to college, was because he sat there and said, you know what? I'm mad at Kraft in the NFL right now. I don't want to go coach there. So I'm going to pull what Nick pulled, and I'm going to go do it better than Nick did and make everybody want me for the next 5 years.
And I know it's crazy and it probably will never happen, but I've been watching Belichick's podcast, and he had a hot take last week right before the Sunday night or the Thursday night game against the Bills, and he is in love with Miami Dolphins. He loves these defensive guys. I know the NFL won't allow it, but I would love to.
And that's all I heard as a
Gruden.
Falcons fan right before when they were talking about hiring him too, is how much he loved the players, but he just wanted to make a couple changes. And I'm like, no,
he was all about Gruden in Miami, so I would take Gruden over Belichick any day.
Yeah, Gruden would be great. I think
we need that attitude, that defensive-minded attitude, whether it's him, Flores, just
John Gruden would be so much better, but that's all I like. When you saying that reminded me when Bill Belichick was on the hot seat for Atlanta's job, and I'm like, no, please no, please no, please no.
And I know Stephen Ross has got big ties with Michigan,
Yes.
so I heard nothing but, Harbaugh for years. I'm like, no, please no.
See, but Harbaugh would have been good for you. I think Harbaugh is a great coach. I think both of them are. I mean, 18 years for John and with Baltimore is wild. I didn't even realize that until watching the game last night. I was like, wow,
been a while.
Guy has been almost 20 years with the same team. Like,
and you don't see that
by
a lot.
itself is going to get you into the Hall of Fame. But both of them have been highly successful at their jobs. I mean, both to different extents. And I think Jim could have turned around the Miami team. I mean, not that Mike McDaniel hasn't really done his best to try to do that, but I think it would have been a completely different mindset, a completely different regime. And honestly,
veteran type coach instead of a newbie type guy.
And Tua might not have gotten hurt as much, to be honest with you.
He might not have been there.
Yeah. That's
always
a possibility.
But then now we're playing the what ifs. So right. I would just rather let's get through Monday night and see where this team sits. But I know our boy Evan Cohen, I know we're going to get into this, but one thing he said yesterday, which caught my eye, because it's always been the Jackson Dart, he's up next. And this is what he had to say, not Jackson Dart.
If I'm Mara, the owner of the team, and I have heard all offseason, in preseason, from Brian Daboll, the coach of the Giants, and Joe Shane, the general manager, here is our plan for when Jackson Dart gets in there, and here are the milestones he has to hit. If I'm owning the team, and you're still my coach, you're not allowed to start him yet. You're not changing the plan because Russell Wilson is not good. If you want to play Jameis, play Jameis.
Where's his name been?
No, that's fair. And honestly, yesterday, while thinking about it a little bit more, that did pop up in my head because everybody's saying, oh, no, don't play him this week. Don't play him this week against the Chargers. Don't do that.
Throw Winston in there.
Why not?
Why not?
Because if Winston goes out and beats the Chargers, why not ride with Jameis at this point? Like, don't get me wrong, not to give Jackson Dart another hurdle to jump over, but he brings up a good point. You signed Jameis Winston for a reason. You kept him on the roster for a reason. And much like the Cleveland Browns, you've had Jackson Dart as the number 3 for a reason. So why not have Jameis Winston step in, at least for this game? And if it's ugly, it's ugly. You move on. You start the rookie against the very weak Saints team the next week in New Orleans and hope to God he can survive the onslaught of teams that come after that. Because then you have Philly twice, plus the 49ers and a whole bunch of other teams. So it's going to be ugly for the Giants, regardless of what you do. And I heard this on McAfee yesterday, and it's a brilliant point. He's going to have to face all these guys eventually. So why not do it now? The first one's at least at home against Philly. The second one within 2 weeks is away, but I mean, you'll have to face the Philly crowd eventually. So again, the plan for New York, I would hope, is to figure out the right week to start Jackson here in the next 2 to 3. But sooner might be better than later, especially with what's coming in the weeks to come after that, because it's going to get real rough for the Giants here very, very soon. Let's take a break real quick, pay some bills one final time for the day. We'll let you know what we got planned for you on Wednesday. And up by telling you the rules between this whole Jake Paul and Tank Davis fight that'll be coming up in November. This is the Early Bird Special right here on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield.
The Early Birds.
Welcome back. This is the early bird special right here on 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. ESPN Bakersfield, as well as streaming video online every single day from 7 to 9 in the morning on YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch. You can go back and watch every single episode on all of those platforms. Oh, I'm sorry, no, not on Twitch. I don't know how they save on Twitch, actually. I've seen people save their videos, but unfortunately ours don't get saved there. You can find it on YouTube, though, and Facebook as well.
It's in the cloud.
Just, search up the early bird special.
And before you get into this, because I do want to hear your insight. You know more about these fights, but I have to go see him, dude.
The movie.
Him,
I was like,
I'm
I'm
gonna beat myself up if I don't go see it in the theater.
I've seen some bad reviews for
Really?
it too, but here's the thing. I have yet to see a good Marlon Wayans movie that didn't have a bad review.
Right.
White Chicks, Scary Movie. They all had terrible reviews and are classics. Let's be honest.
I've heard that it is definitely like a 13 Ghosts type, psychedelic
Psychological.
thriller movie, and I love those movies.
I do. Maybe we should go. I'm down. I need to go see this as well. If I can get some money this weekend, I'd be completely down to go with
just
you.
FYI, I can get us in at the Reading
Oh,
Cinema.
that's right.
And it's playing at IMAX, so
Is it really?
yeah.
Can we get into IMAX?
Oh yeah.
Ooh, might take you up on that. We'll figure something out this week. I'm down. I do want to go see that. Although that is an interesting one to have in IMAX. I wonder why.
I heard it's a trippy movie, and we should see it. But
I'm down.
I know tomorrow we'll be talking BC football with our guys at 7:30. We'll get our waiver Wednesday up at 8, and an entrance with Ryan Holt. We'll talk some Condors as the Condor individual tickets are on sale, so you can get your teddy bear toss tickets, all of that, and we can get the insight on what's to expect this year with the Condors.
Absolutely. And if you missed our interview yesterday with Luke Robitaille, it will be up on our YouTube channel here within the next day or so. I'm hoping to get it up today, but if I can't get to it today, it will be up tomorrow, along with plenty other videos that you possibly have missed from the past couple days. It was a fantastic interview.
Yeah, you don't want to miss that one.
The stream was having issues with our video and stuff at one point, so I am going to take the audio and stuff from the radio side, so it will be the it'll be the interview in its entirety. Some of it will be in video, some of it will not, obviously, but you'll be able to hear our entire interview with him and what's coming with this exhibition game between the Ducks and the Kings this Saturday at Dignity Health. You can get your tickets right now at AXS and other ticketing platforms, and get them quick, because everybody I know asked me yesterday if I'm going to the game, because they're going to the game. And I said, I'm going to try.
It's an early start.
It's absolutely going to be an early start. It's going to be a great game to go check out. And you're going to see a lot of the Kings big players from what we heard yesterday. And I mean, with it being Kopitar's last year, are you really going to miss out on this one opportunity to see him skate right here in Dignity Health in Bakersfield? You have no excuse. You don't have to drive to LA if you're a hockey fan. They're right here in your hometown. Just go get your tickets right now. I don't know why you're listening to me. Go. But let's talk about this Jake Paul fight for those of you who have already bought your tickets, because the rules have come out. The match cards come out as well, but I don't have enough time to get into that with the 2 minutes that we have left. So I'll let you know of what the rules will be for this November 14th exhibition between the two boxers, which is already getting a lot of hate. Obviously, one, for it just being Jake Paul in general.
The
Let's
size
be
difference
honest.
just looks horrible.
It does. Don't get me wrong. I understand that, but
David
at this
versus
point,
Goliath.
it is what it is. Gervonta should have no problem taking Jake out at all, to be honest with you. But there will be 10-round exhibition, 3-minute rounds that will contest a maximum weight of 195 pounds, and they will be wearing 12-ounce gloves for the fight. This is interesting because this puts both fighters at a weird disadvantage, and I'll explain why. Welterweights usually have, and that's around the 174-pound range, usually fight with 8-ounce gloves. I believe Paul usually, or at least traditionally, has fought with 10-ouncers. So both of these guys are going in with heavier gloves than they're used to. It's an exhibition fight, so I wouldn't exactly expect either of them to be coming to take each other's heads off. But it's still going to be very entertaining. It's going to pool a ton of money. And I can tell you right now, most boxing fans that are listening to my voice right now are probably going to be watching it. November 14th. I'll get you more information on it tomorrow when we have a little bit more time to talk about it. Plus, much, much more in the world of football. Like Sparky said, we'll give you our waiver wire picks of the week for those of you who play fantasy football as well. And I know there's a whole ton of stories we didn't get to. Fred VanVleet out for the year with a torn ACL. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Plus our guys from BC football and Ryan Holt from the Condors. So that is all for us today here on the Early Bird Special. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us back here tomorrow, 7 to 9, or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and all the other social medias. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, and you'll hear and watch us every single day. Sparky, let's get out of here.